second thought that those crate motors don't have a bunch of horsepower to sit there on the starts and or get into the corner to sit there and loop these cars out or spin the tires on a restart. They do that every single time. It just happens to be that these open motors have a little bit more, but when it's tacky, those are the motors and stuff to have. When it starts to turn dry slick, crate motors is the way to have. But Joey is a great driver, and the maturity level that he has as a driver is tenfold. That kid is a wheelman.
Yeah, he's definitely changed over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, and that just comes with growing up and, not being a kid anymore. But let's kind of go into tonight's action. I mean, all we got was qualifying, but we'll talk about this here. We'll start with the sportsman division. Now, this is interesting. The fast qualifier in the street stock division.
Street stocks, yeah.
And the street stock division tonight was the 13 car of Mikey Breakall.
Let's talk.
The only car in the 16-second bracket. 16,
this girl
7,
is
8,
on
9.
fire.
Wait a second now. That car tonight in qualifying was piloted by Slideways Tony Breakall. Slideways, the old man. Mike,
but it's still good though. She can wheel that car as fast as her dad.
A heat race win last week. It proves that she did.
And she did it. And she did with style too.
Yeah, she patience won that race for her.
Right.
Second fast tonight in the street stock division was the 34 of Mark Gaylord. He stopped the clocks with a 17.065. Okay. Third fast qualifier, 42, Ron Schenkel. He timed in with a 17.259, and the final car on the dash, had we had a dash, was the W7, normally driven by Kevin Williamson. Tonight it was Jordan McDonald, 17.406. So that Mikey Breakall car, okay, starting to get some attention.
Man,
that
look good though. I mean, and we noticed too is that tonight, during qualifying, is that turn 1 and 2, a lot of people are running the bottom. Over in 3 and 4, people are running more of the middle to kind of the middle of the high groove. And that's kind of where we saw a lot of people and stuff running. Right. It wasn't until the modifieds actually got out there, and we'll talk about them here in a little bit, is that they started actually pushing the cushion, over in 1 and 2. But that car over in 3 and 4, I don't think ever lifted.
Well, and the thing, watching that car with Tony in it, and he's in there trying to figure out the setup, give his daughter something a little better to work with. Watching the way,
I don't know, she might have to give him some.
Watching the way that car rolled over to the right rear and put the power down, and how it went forward all the time.
Massive forward.
They're really been working on the setup on that car, and I think they're really close to having that thing.
Taking their notes and going back, going back to the shop and looking at it, and she's dedicated. I mean, not only does she race, cage karts, and I mean she's dedicated to what she does. And is so experienced and getting experience every single time she gets out there. And winning that heat race last week was just a set for some of these guys going, hey, just because I'm a girl, and we say this time and time again, just because she's a girl, do not
We say that a lot because of the way that street stock class is set up with Talon Roberts. You've got Mikey Breakall. You've got Mackenzie Lockhart running that class now. You're going to see Trinity Penley hop in and out of the 22 car as well. So that class is loaded with talented young ladies who, I don't care who you are, they can drive race cars.
Well, I talked to Talon when she came in and asked her where her car was, and she says, well, she goes, I actually talked to her mom. And her mom basically said is that, the car was done. She kind of hit the wall or whatever and, had to have a little bit of repair done to it. Her car was ready. But the motor wasn't ready. Your dad says, man, I feel so bad. He says, I feel so bad for not having her out there. He says, but, she's okay with it. She's good. And she says, hey, I'll come back out when we need to be. But you talk about another talented driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really doesn't matter anymore.
And talking about her last week was, it was a shame because that's a great race car, a good-looking race car.
There in turn 1.
I didn't see the actual wreck. I turned and saw her glancing off the wall. To me, it looked like, somebody just kind of caught the wall and the aftermath,
it really didn't look that bad.
It didn't. The aftermath of looking at the car when you saw it in person was, she hit that wall pretty good.
Yeah, it kind of had to be taken off with the tow truck.
Once we put the video up on Moxie, you see that, well, we didn't put it up. I'm sorry, James Whitehouse. We watched his video.
Right.
From the in-car camera of the 49, the 49 Chevelle, James Whitehouse. We saw his in-car view of Talon hit the wall. And all I can say is I'm glad that girl's all right.
Yeah, she hit hard.
Race cars are one thing. We can rebuild race cars. We can replace race cars. But that young lady hit the wall a ton. A testament to the safety of that car that Kevin has put into the seat, the belts, the safety gear she's in. She did say she was rattled in the car. It moved her a little bit. But She's not scared. She's looking forward to getting back behind the wheel.
Talked to her tonight, and she says, and that's another subject, next week, that's a huge subject we're going to hit on. And we want to tell you, the race fans and stuff, that is something it's something that's deep into our hearts right now because of the tragedy that we just had. A fellow racer. Yeah. We want to talk about safety. We're going to have a couple call-ins.
With that show next week, we're going to have a couple guests here in the Moxie studio to talk safety, and it's going to be a big issue with us on the next show. So if you want to talk safety, you want to listen about safety and maybe get some tips and call in. Let's hear about your program. Let's hear about what you're doing to make your race program safer for not just your car but yourself.
Right.
We're gonna hit on that a lot next week. It's gonna be a big deal.
Hit us up on our email, moxiemedia2016 at gmail.com. Our phone number, Corey,
541-990-2838.
And all that information and stuff will be on our Moxie page. Safety is a huge concern, not only for street stocks, dwarf cars, 4Bs. Every level of this auto sports is huge for us, and that's a huge thing that we want to talk about next week. But keep going. Let's go back to the Sportsman.
Let's talk about Sportsman qualifying tonight. We got to see some of the cars get on the track and turn some times. Tom Yak, fast qualifier of the night. Listen to this.
Again?
He was the only car in the 15-second bracket in this division, and he wasn't messing around. 15.397.
I thought he was driving a late model realistically. The way he had that car, the left front coming off the ground.
You watch that. That's one Sportsman car that I'll watch. You watch him down the backstretch. When that car comes out of 2, down the backstretch into 3, and you watch that left rear move forward. That car,
get up on the bars.
You didn't know any better, it looks like it's got a 4-bar setup under it. It doesn't. I mean, we took a good look at the car last week as Tom talked about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid. Hey, look, this is the car. You want to take a look at it? There it is. I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah, he'll even jack it up for you. He said, he says, I don't care.
I mean, he's fast, and everybody knows it. And,
very quick.
Here's something cool. Second fast qualifier of the night, the old man Glenn Hackney in the number 2.
Right?
That.
I told him today. We were walking through the pits, and I said, "Hey," I said, "I got my driver. He's probably about 40 feet from us or whatever." I said, "I got my driving suit and helmet and stuff." I said, "You want to let me run one of your cars?" He goes, "What?" And he literally got up to me. He says, "Oh, I forgot to put on my hearing aid." I said, "Yeah, you didn't."
That doesn't surprise me with that old loon. I'll tell you, he's a fun guy.
God, he is.
He's a fun guy to talk to.
Cool. Got 4 cars out there?
He's 5.
5 cars, man.
He's one of the pilots. He was second fast, 16.426. Now, we did see an interesting addition to the Sportsman class. We saw one of the Sport Mods.
The number 51.
Yep. Jake Maiden. 51M, and he was third fast. 16.798.
Looked quick though, didn't he?
Didn't look bad. It's a great looking race car too.
Yeah, it was. Little black and red numbers. Yeah.
And the 4th fast qualifier in tonight's Sportsman division was the 1 of Jeff Rash, again a Hackney driver, with a 16.984.
I mean, just kind of side notes. I'm sorry. The smiley face on the 1, that's classic.
It's on all Hackney.
That's a Hackney thing, man. Really, I asked him about that, and he says, "Well, why not smile?" And that is a man that never. I mean, he always is smiling.
Yeah. Super Sports. Okay, this is a class that has grown immensely. I mean, these guys
sideboard, old school, bring it back. Cool. I love this class.
It's cool.
I wish that I actually talked to a gentleman, the 10 car that showed up today. What is
Brian Brown?
Brian Brown. Has a sponsor on his car. Well, actually, it's not a sponsor. It's a charity that he drives for. He's talking about how he would love, and he's talked to a bunch of these guys that would love to come out to Sunset. And maybe on one of these nights, they can come up there or whatever, on an off weekend that they don't race down here in Willamette, to come up there and show what these guys, and maybe actually bring their class up to Sunset Speedway. To me, I think it'd be cool to...
the fans would like to see those cars, with the no tops. And you get to see the car. The driver in the car with working the wheel, and then like we watched growing up, which is cool. It's always neat to see that, because then again you realize, hey, there's somebody in that car. And that's always fun to watch. So with the Super Sports, fast qualifier, Dan Dybel,
quick.
15. Well, that's Ford powered race car, Josh. Something you like. That's a Swartz chassis Ford Power. The Knot Hole Market is a sponsor on the side. 15.021. If that's not laying it down, that's pretty.
Well, let's go back. The last 15-second lap was Over here in a Sportsman was a 15.397 by Tom Yak. That was fast time there. And he had a 15.021 faster than a Sportsman.
Well, yeah, they've got the big sideboards.
Right? And they tell you, sideboards really don't matter. They don't cause no doubt. I tell you what, those sideboards mean something.
I'll argue that. Yeah, I like the boards.
Love the old school.
Second fast qualifier in the Sportsman, or the Super Sports, last Saturday night's feature winner, Randy Barley.
Yep.
15.337. Third fast, Larry Ramirez in the TR points, number 11.
Good car.
Okay, so a 15.491, and the final car that would have been in the dash was the 88 of Brian Winkler with a 15.547. So little over a half a second between the top 4 cars, and those were the only 4 cars that were in the 15-second bracket. They were all in the dash.
Yep.
So from there, it went from a 15.4 to a 16.088.
Over a half a second.
Just, yep, a little over half a second.
To the 5th driver. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, going from the top 4 for the dash in the 15s now to a 16.0, a half a second slower than the top 4. That's quick. Those guys are quick, though.
With that track that we saw tonight, we saw the ability to use horsepower, but we also saw anybody that got that car a little bit sideways, it scrubbed off. It doesn't have speed to knock you out of the dash that fast, and we saw that.
It was over. A lot of it happened over in 3 and 4.
3 and 4 was where it was biting a lot of people tonight. Modifieds, IMCA modifieds. Not that qualifying counts. They put these guys out for hot laps. You know, they line up according to IMCA points and all that good stuff. So qualifying doesn't count for this class. But looking at the lap times, the fast car in that class tonight
was a good-looking car.
First time on the track this year, the number 7 of Dustin Cady, 15.874. Now, right behind him, last week's feature winner, John Campos, 15.885. That's pretty darn close to the top 2 cars. Then you look at the third fast was Jake Maiden in the 5M, 15.926, and then right behind him, Superman himself, 15 with a 961.
That's fast, your 4 dash.
And again, the only 4 cars in that 15-second bracket. You know,
and it seems to be a pattern. These guys, these guys are quick all the time. It's nice to see coming straight out of the box, Dustin Cady in that 7 car come out, great looking car, and come out and set that time. The cool thing about it, too, is John Campos didn't actually turn in his second fastest time until his last lap.
Last lap, that's right. Last lap, and he was laying it down.
We both looked at each other and said, well, okay, he's in the 16s, and, it's coming out to the last flag, and Jeremy Means pulls out that white flag, and we're like, oh, okay, he's going to be, I think he was 7th at the time, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, second fastest for the 15. It's like, where did you come from?
He saw that white flag.
Johnny Lightning.
Yeah. That was a good lap. It was fun to watch. And then in our late models, and the super late models tonight, the only car to break into the 13-second bracket was Superman Colin Weinbarger. 13.985. 13.985 was his fast lap. Now, behind him, second fast qualifier, and we've talked about these guys, Bryson James in the number 13 with a 14.006.
We talk about these young kids. We've talked about it off season, prior to the start of 2016, and talking about these 2 kids.
Well, we talk about them a lot because of the fact they are kind of the face of the next generation behind the generation we've seen dominate for so long, which was right behind them, Darren Koffel, the 3-time champ with a 14.069, and Rob May in the 37 with a 14.319. You've got those 4 cars. That's pretty darn close in time, but it's the young guns versus the veterans. And tonight in qualifying, the younger guys got a hold of them, and
Darren Koffel, we didn't get a chance. We got a chance last week to see him mud in, and then as soon as Jeremy decided, Jeremy Means, our flagger, decided to go ahead and throw the green to have these guys kind of warm up their cars a little bit. Poof! Goes this big, huge cloud of smoke underneath Darren Koffel's car. I actually had a chance to go down there and talk to him today, and he says that what had happened is he has a source motor, very, very, very strong open motor. He says what they do is they run a belt, and that belt basically, it broke one of the fan blades off. Which happened is that he says it was just my kind of screw up. He says, I kind of screwed up a little bit and noticed it, but I was trying to put things together fast. He says, but that fan blade literally ripped off the water pump, which in turn, once that water pump ripped off, it took a hole into the radiator. Then the radiator is out there and hit an oil line. He says it was kind of expensive. He says it was something that I will never, ever do again. But they got very, very lucky. You know, they only had to Healy coil the front of the motor to put that water pump back on. He says, come back out. But I, you know, got a chance, was on the back stretch over in turn 3 today. Another thing that we're bringing to Moxie Media is having what speeds. We talk about time. We talk about how he turned in